Talk shoes. Recorded live.
Good morning, good evening, wherever you may be across the nation or around the world. Once again, you are listening to the VMware Communities Roundtable Podcast. This is podcast number 560. My name is Eric Nilsson, and with me today, I have my odd co-host, Corey Romero. Today is Wednesday, March 16th, 2022. Corey, how are you doing today? How's that Utah oddness up there in the odd Utah air?
Yeah, it's fun. It's a roller coaster this time of year. It goes from 80 degrees down to 14 degrees and rain to, a foot of snow. So it's an exciting time of the year, but things are well. Eric, how are you?
Doing well. It is a nice, 68 degree, 70 degree day here in California. Got a little rain last night. So that's always nice to have a little wetness in the Bay Area, but otherwise blue skies and pretty. We're into mid-March now. So pretty soon it'll be April and we'll be along our journey to beautiful weather. On the show today, we're going to be talking to Peter Hagenson, Senior Product Marketing Manager for VMware, and Brock Peterson, Senior Cloud Solutions Architect. We're going to be talking about the big picture for a big update for vRealize operations. They did a vRealize True Visibility dump with a bunch of plugins and management packs that I think we're going to talk about today. So stay tuned. We're going to be talking about vRealize True Visibility and the update that happened in sometime at the beginning of this year. And then they got a blog post out. We'll talk about that as well and talk about the futures of monitoring and application monitoring and the whole stack up and down. So it should be a good show today. But before we get to that, Corey Romero, what's going on with vExperts these days?
Yeah, vExperts. So we just kicked off the sub-program applications. That happened on March 1st. And the applications closed the end of the day today. So if you're a vExpert, you're listening to this, get your application in. I'll actually do this. I will wait till tomorrow morning to close them, just so there's anyone listening to this that needs to get your app in, get it in. We're going to announce the program awards for all of the sub-programs on the 28th. And the second piece of news I have for vExperts is in the email yesterday that I sent out were all the vExpert licenses. So if you missed that email, you can either go to the email and read it, or you can just go directly to vexpert.vmware.com, log in as a vExpert, and go get your licenses. So all of the new licenses for the 2022 program are there. Actually, I can't say all of them. I'm missing a handful, which IT is going to work on, and we'll get those updated in there. But those are the ones that are missing. I've communicated with those users, so I think we're all good.
Yeah, excellent. I know I am waiting for my license because I think they all time out in the next 30 days or so. So good to get those done. Thanks for doing that.
Absolutely.
It's not that everything stops running. It's just every time I go need to do an update or re-provision or anything like that, then it yells at me going, sorry, no more licenses for you. There you go. In the news, let's see, FutureNet. FutureNet is coming up in San Francisco. We are going to be promoting that on social. If you're interested in advanced networking technology topics, FutureNet, I think it's April 27th and April 28th. I believe it's in San Francisco in person with some kind of remote access, but I'm not certain about the remote access. So we'll bring some of the guys on from the networking BUs to talk about what's happening with FutureNet this year. That's coming up April 27th through April 28th, 2-day conference. RSA conference will be there June 9th, 6th through 9th in person. I believe that one's in San Francisco as well, but I don't have a listing of what city it's in. I believe it's in San Francisco. So RSA conference, June 6th through the 9th. If you're interested, a lot of these things are coming back in person. So Corey, get ready to fly around the world because we're going to come back, whether you like it or not. We're going to all come back.
That's my favorite part of the entire year is meeting everybody and seeing everybody face to face at VMworld. Talking to everybody, seeing the face to face, that's going to do me justice. So I'm excited for it. I'm happy.
And then the last one, if your boss walks in going, geez, we just got lots of cash. What do you want to do with it? KubeCon, May 16th through May 20th in Spain. So you can get your big boots on and go for a travel over to Spain and be part of KubeCon. VMware is going to be there. We're going to have a booth there. We're going to be talking about Tanzu and all things Kubernetes. So KubeCon, May 16th through May 20th coming up. So world's starting to get back to normal. And of course, VMworld announcements are going to be happening in April about VMworld and what the value prop of VMworld is going to be, and all the the stuff that we announce on themes and what we're trying to accomplish with that, and how you can get to go, et cetera, et cetera. So in San Francisco and in Europe this year, 4-day events in both cities. So should be in person with some online content, as I've said on the podcast in the past. I think that's it for the intro, guys. So we're going to get to Peter and Brock to talk about vRealize operations and vRealize True Visibility. So I guess we'll start with Peter, since Brock was on not too long ago. So we'll talk with Peter. Peter, what we normally do on the show, because we are a community podcast, is we'll ask you, who are you? How did you get here where you are? What's your career arc look like? Where did you start out and how did you get here? And what are you working on at VMware? Give us a little bit of a couple of minute elevator pitch of who you are and what makes you tick.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me today. I'm excited to talk about the changes that we've been making with VROPS and with TVS. I think you'll find that my career arc is a little similar to Brock's. We both came to VMware as a part of the acquisition from Blue Medora with the True Visibility suite. I started out close to 15 years ago with in the storage world with Compellent, and took a stop at Dell and a couple other places, and wound up at Blue Medora in 2015. And much like Brock, I reside in the Minneapolis area. So Brock's just a few miles down the road from me. And so I've been at VMware for, it's getting closer to 2 years now. And in addition to the TVS suite of management packs, I'm also working on kind of all things vRealize operations. So loving getting into that and experiencing that whole world, and being a part of VMware has been really great.
All right, good. And what city was that again? Minneapolis.
Minneapolis. Yeah.
Minneapolis, Minnesota. Minnesota is somewhere. Where is Minnesota in the continental U.S.? Is that like over by Boston, or is that over by Wisconsin?
We don't want people to find out, right, Brock? You just fly right on over, and we'll enjoy the lakes here up north.
It's a flyover state for you, Eric. When you're going to the East Coast, you just fly over it.
My son went to University of Wisconsin, right? And I tell that story that my son, looked at what he wanted to get out of the university, and he goes, I just want to meet normal people and go to school with normal people. And so he went to, I think he got into NYU and USC and a couple other ones. So we visited the campus, and we'd like, well, first you got to define what normal is, Mike. And my son's name is Mike. I'm like, I don't know what's normal. But he goes, well, just normal people. I'm like, okay, all right, well, let's go sit in the quad and let's count how many normal people walk by, dude. So we went to USC and 200 people walked by, and he counted like 4 normal people, right? Then he went to NYU. They don't really have a campus, but he's checking it out. And he's like, yeah, there were like 10 normal people of 200 in an hour that he could find, right? And he's like, you go to Madison, Wisconsin, and he defined normal, and he counted, and like 200 people walked by and 198 of them were normal. And I'm like, oh, there you go. And so he's like, I want to go to Wisconsin. This is my definition of normal. I'm going there. I'm going to have a great time. He liked hockey. He liked sports. So I'll get to the point of the story in a second. So we go as parents. This is our first kid going to college, and we go to the new orientation, right? And they get like 25 kids up on stage, right, to introduce these are the sophomores, and they're going to say what it was like to go to University of Wisconsin. They get up on stage and they put the microphone, and the first person goes, "Oh no, there! Whoop! What's up? How you doing?" And we're like, what's that? They go the next round. Oh, me too. I'm from Minnesota. And it's like, they went down. I'm like, I didn't understand half of what anybody was saying, because they all had and I'm like, I don't know if Mike thinks this is going to be normal when he hears them talk, right? Because like Wisconsin gets like a ton of people from Minnesota, so it's fun to hear the accent and see. It's a flyover state, but it's an interesting state, and it has its own culture, right? And it's certainly its own accent. So a lot of humor there. But he actually got married to a girl from where's Green Bay from? Green Bay, Wisconsin. Yeah. So there you go. So he's married a Green Bay person. On with the show. Good to hear about yourself, Peter. Brock, we already got an intro from you, but you can give us the 1.5 minute elevator pitch. We'll hear from you as well, and then we'll get to the topics.
Okay, sounds good. I'm a cloud solution architect with VMware. So I came over as a part of the Blue Medora acquisition, basically an SE covering the suite of vRealize. So vRealize operations, log insight, automation, things like that. So before that, I spent 20 years with Big Blue. Started out wearing, starched white shirts and dress pants to work every day, and now I wear hoodies. I love to hear that your son married a gal from Green Bay. He's probably a Packer fan at this point, so good for him.
That's right. Me and the father-in-law have a bet. If San Francisco wins, he has to wear San Francisco hat and do an online picture going, "Yeah, go! I'm a San Francisco." And if Green Bay wins, I got to do the same, right? He suffers more. I don't really care that much, but man, you make him wear a San Francisco hat, he's like crying. But it's fun. It's great. It's great. Great people. Great place. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about vRealize True Visibility. Why don't you Peter, walk us through a little bit of what the suite does, how many people that in our ecosystem actually runs. I know most people will run vRealize operations. That's a fairly popular product, but the vRealize True Visibility stack that goes into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about that, just to cover an elevator pitch of what it is, and then we'll get into the management packs and so forth. That's what's new.
Yeah, absolutely. So vRealize True Visibility Suite is, as it came over from Blue Medora, is a suite of 56 management packs that really, what they do is it extends out vRealize operations. So you're bringing in your physical storage, compute, network, databases, apps, all into vRealize operations. So you're extending out your view, and really, Brock's going to roll his eyes. I'll probably roll my eyes, but creating that single pane of glass that customers look for. So companies are forever trying to consolidate tools. They're trying to be able to find data that they can trust, and we do that by pulling it all together and putting it in that one common view. If you don't know what's happening outside of that one tool that you're working in, you're essentially flying blind, and you're trying to decide where to place your trust. And so that's how the True Visibility Suite works with vRealize operations. I don't have a number of people using these integrations, but it's high and it's growing all the time. Because one of the biggest things that we did with our changes this fall that we announced at VMworld and rolled out in November was we took the storage and compute management packs, all of them from the True Visibility Suite, and we said anybody that has vRealize operations is entitled to these management packs now. So you're talking Dell, HP, Lenovo, Compute, a bunch of different storage vendors, so that kind of beyond the host, the data store, the VM, you can bring in that physical storage and compute to know what your virtual environment is dependent on.
Right. And that was new, because before that releasing, did you have them and they were just in a different package, or did we just introduce that new?
Yeah. So up until the fall, there were 3 editions of the True Visibility Suite, similar to vRealize operations. There was Standard, Advanced, and Enterprise. Standard consisted of our compute management packs and just our Dell EMC storage. But then we said, it's such a critical part of the visibility and the overall strength to the vRealize operations platform that we said, we think that it's crucial that customers have access to these basic storage and compute management packs.
Okay. In the land of vRealize? I know vRealize Operations has a cloud-based offering as well. Do you guys get into the cloud-based offering as well? I'm wondering how you do that connection from servers out into cloud if you were actually running this as a SaaS product as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We do. The management packs are available as a part of vRealize Operations Cloud. Brock, I don't know if you have any insight into how you've seen that integrated out in the field a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. So they work quite nicely in the vRops SaaS offering. So the marketplace is integrated in our SaaS offering. So rather than downloading pack files and then installing them, you literally just click a Get button on your vRops Cloud UI, goes out, grabs that pack file, installs it. And then we have what we call cloud proxies that sit on-prem or in your private cloud. And that acts as our gateway from the cloud to your private cloud, hitting your vCenter, pulling all that data back. So we do have some HA type functionality around that, in that we can group cloud proxies together to kind of form a larger pipe, if you will.
Yeah, there's a really great, I guess, downloadable ebook that has the Guerrilla Guide to vRealize True Visibility Suite by Christopher Kuzak. Chris Kuzak is kind of good author. Go check that out as well. And then I should mention the blog article that you guys produced that we're talking about here, blogs.vmware.com, the management blog, blogs.vmware.com management. And then there's an article, and you can just Google a big vRealize True Visibility update, right? And go check that one out. I'll put it in chat here. It'll probably get published on the YouTube channel so that people can go check out that blog, because this blog goes through the big release that we did like in late November, right? That we're going to talk through today. So go check out that blog. I'll go publish that there. So if you happen to be on VMware TV or the vBarbecue YouTube channel, you'll see that I published that out on the live stream. I'll push it on TalkShoe as well. So we'd take a look at that blog. It's always nice to go through the blog and talk about what's happening. So we talked about the storage and management packs, right? And those are nice. You have a really nice GUI there, that your image of what that looks like, what the single pane of glass looks like. And I got to say, it looks pretty nice. It's pretty impressive. And then you have all the management packs that are here, right? Compute, Cisco, Dell. Are these are obviously a much larger list than we just talked about there, but are these all the ones that are now part of vRealize Operation that I can just get, all of these ones that are listed in this blog article?
Yep. Yeah, all of those that are listed under the compute and storage, Cohesity, all of those Dell packs, the HPE 3PAR, Nimble, IBM, SBC, and StoreWise, NetApp, Pure. Those are all included. If you have vRealize Operations, install those management packs, assuming you have that infrastructure. So it'll give you that visibility that you need into that underlying layer.
It's also a low cost way to get started, right? When we're talking about SaaS products, a lot of times people mention that when you're trying to market your SaaS products, don't even try to market them. Just enable them in your product, right? And then let people use them and get comfortable with them and experience them, and then have a way to upsell if people want additional features or want to buy a bigger license or run and scale out. Just put it in the product, give it to people, let them use it for a year, and then if they find value and they find additional value, they'll buy additional capability, which I really like that strategy. Microsoft's been super successful at that strategy. So for me, giving you compute and storage just built into vRealize Operations is nice, because then if I'm starting to like this, I go, oh, I've got comfortable managing all my hardware alerts and visibility, and I want to start upping what I can do up the stack. This gives you a way in. Very nice to do that. So I like that.
Yeah, Eric, you asked earlier how many customers were running these, and since we've entitled vRops customers to these, the vast majority of my customers are running these. So probably 9 out of 10 customers are now installing the compute management packs. They're now installing the storage management packs, not only for relationship management, i.e. data store to storage, host to compute node, but also funneling, say, hardware alerts through vRealize operations, and then making notifications to either a CMDB or sending out emails, what have you. So it kind of makes VROPS your hub, if you will, right? So everything monitoring goes through VROPS and then kind of funnels out. So go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, I think, the other thing too, Brock, you look at, there's a screenshot in there of a multi-storage vendor overview, which is a dashboard I believe that Brock actually built. And, customers that have different tools to monitor their different storage arrays, because I don't know anybody out there that has, settled on one storage array and is able to just use one tool. But to have that view all together of your your VMAX, your NetApp, your pure flash arrays, all in that one place is really valuable for customers.
Yeah, for sure, Peter. So rather than 2, 3, 4 different management monitoring planes for storage or compute, they can just go into vRealize operations, not only for just the storage or compute, but also for the relationship. So a lot of value there, and including it in vRealize operations licensing, customers have loved it. Every customer is installing these things.
It makes sense for me because I'm a hardware geek anyway. I love hardware. I don't like the cloud as much because I miss the idea of having racks and wiring stuff and managing my own gear. But then I don't have to do it for a living either. So I guess that's probably why it's a fascination, because I don't have to. It's not what I have to deal with at 2:00 in the morning on a Saturday, right? Or maybe a Sunday morning. But then you kind of go up the stack where we look at the advanced edition now, right? When you guys release this in November, did you then also increase the number of packs that are available in the advanced edition? And why don't we talk a little bit about what the advanced edition is and give us the difference between that and the standard edition?
Yeah, so we took those. There were additional storage packs in advanced. Anything that wasn't Dell EMC storage was in advanced, and we put those in the entitlements. But then we took all of our connectors management packs. So you've got Microsoft SCOM, Nagios, Oracle Enterprise Manager, ServiceNow, and SolarWinds all moved from enterprise into advanced. And I want to call out specifically the ServiceNow management pack, because people who are familiar with how the suites were packaged before, ServiceNow was bundled in with the applications. But again, we just saw that as a pack that was so valuable to customers that we wanted to make it more widely available, because connecting into that CMDB is just, we have a two-way sync, and it's just a really valuable way that customers can utilize that management pack with vROPS and with ServiceNow.
Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so there's a couple main use cases for that ServiceNow management pack. So like Peter said, there's a two-way integration, which works quite nicely. So sending vROPS alerts over to ServiceNow, creating incidents, updating in those instances, and then syncing that back to vROPS. So, a two-way integration for operations users. But there's also two other use cases. One is CMDB population. So say, for example, if vROPS has discovered network switches or storage arrays or what have you, we can then populate those as CIs in your ServiceNow CMDB. And then third is kind of service mapping. So if you have an application defined within ServiceNow, you can then consume that application or import it back into vRealize operations. And then vROPS can kind of categorize or tell you all of the VMs that comprise that app, right? So if an app owner is looking for, say, the health of all of their VMs, they can now do that in vROPS. So it's a really, really powerful management pack in the vRTVS suite.
Brock, I think if I'm not mistaken, you have a blog written specifically about the ServiceNow management pack on your blog that people should definitely check out. I can send the link to that.
Go ahead.
It is interesting at the the ServiceNow integration. Also, just other ones from Hyper-V, IBM Power VC, Docker. If I'm looking at the list of ones that were in the standard advanced edition, you got a lot of this stuff in there. The ServiceNow one is interesting because it is a SaaS service, that you're doing integration with, right? And I got to wonder how many other big SaaS services are out there, because as everything transitions to SaaS, there might only be like maybe 5 or 10 big ones that you want to do those integrations with, so that you can basically have a pane of glass, kind of what we do with Workspace ONE, where you can see all your SaaS applications and then, provide a user interface to all those and kind of give you a ability to manage all of it from a single place, right? I kind of see where VMware would look at ServiceNow, but maybe there's like a handful of these other ones that you do these integrations, and you really would have a true SaaS multi-cloud pane of glass that you allow to manage not only the VMs you're getting from clouds, because we think in terms of VMs, but also just the SaaS layers above that, the application layers above that, so that you can actually just see the health of all of your multi-cloud apps that are running in various places. It's an interesting concept. Getting to all right, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure, Eric. I mean, whether it's ServiceNow or one of the hyperscalers or what have you, generally they'll have rich APIs, and the more data, the more objects, the more metrics they expose, the more we can capture, bring into ops, and kind of publish back to the users. So, we're kind of transitioning to SaaS, much like everybody else. So as things are exposed via API, we'll get more of those SaaS offerings into vRealize.
And then at the same time, you have all the on-prem. You can do this on-prem too, so that then you can, your legacy apps can still be managed the same way. You can keep track of all your infrastructure, and then alarm. Do you guys deal with alarm storms? Because that's one of the problems I have with whenever I get into management apps, I'm like one piece goes wrong, and then I got like 300 other alarms going off that are all predicated on the fact that somebody kicked a plug out somewhere, or I got a bad drive going, or any number of things. But then it seems like I have to wait through a lot of alarms. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's really a vRealize platform play, and there's lots of different ways that we can deal with. One being maintenance schedules, two being kind of filtering of alerts and all of their child alerts, right? So if you have a chassis of some sort go down, let's just see that alert, and let's not see all of kind of the child alerts as well. So lots of different filtering we can do from notifications as well. So as alerts kind of flow into vRealize operations, we perform the analysis on those and then make notifications, on demand, sort of, be it to a ServiceNow or an email or Slack or what have you.
Does VMware get into doing, consulting work on helping you build your, it used to be information architecture. Now I almost have to alert architecture, so that you could actually decide how you want to approach this, so I don't have to reinvent the wheel in this?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So I often will consult with my customers post-sale around, cluster builds, notification mechanisms, frequencies. And within vRealize operations, there's a concept of static thresholds versus dynamic thresholds. Which alerts do we want to use dynamic thresholds on versus static thresholds? This is where kind of the AI ML within the vRealize data analytics engine comes into play, such that we learn environments and we don't generate event storms, say on a Saturday night when AV is running on a bunch of hosts or VMs. We actually know that to be normal based on a dynamic threshold, and we don't generate events on it. So yeah, lots of different consulting that pre-sales folks like I do, and or professional services from VMware does as well.
Yeah, my guess would be that you would want that, because if it gets more complicated, right? You just want to have somebody set all this up, and then I run my data center, right? The software does it, and then I don't have to go invent the wheel every time I try to improve my data center, because it scales out so large now that you would really want to have that. Looking back at the articles that you've got there. the advanced edition and application monitoring, right? Like this is where I go back to historically, like we have not done this, right? We have never really done a good job on the application layer. We're now, if you listen to Raghu and everybody talking, they're all about like, it's the app, it's all about deploying the app. It's all about managing the app, but it gets complicated when you get up the app layer because there's just a lot of moving things that have to happen in order to manage applications. How do you see us progressing at that, at the enterprise edition where we are looking at trying to do monitoring of app? And do we have people that write custom app monitoring and then plug it in? What is our app strategy?
So, go ahead.
No, go ahead. So a couple things. So vRealize Operations is very much, vSphere based monitoring platform, right? So thinking vCenter, all the vSphere objects and kind of working its way up into applications with things like VRTVS management packs for apps like SAP, for example. We also have management packs for dedicated third-party APMs, right? So Datadog, New Relic, Dynatrace, AppD. And then, of course, we have Tanzu, and integrating not only the vRealize platform with other vRealize products, meaning ops to LI or RA or whatnot, but also integrating operations to things like Tanzu or Wavefront, which are, very much APM type tools that will dabble down into your virtual layer. So kind of trying to integrate all of those into kind of a cohesive monitoring hub is the goal, and we are getting there.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the critical things that we look at within vRealize Operations is how can we open it up, kind of open that ecosystem, which is what we've done with TBS, but then we do that with those other integrations as well, and that's really important to us so that we can have that whole view.
Yeah, it seems like for me, looking at your blog article and then looking at the Enterprise Advanced, when I'm taking my new marketing people in and I try to explain to them the LAMP or WAMP or MAMP, it's always a stack, right? And you look at the hardware, then you get to the OS, then you get to the platform, solutions, and then you get structural components for your applications. And I look at the Enterprise Advanced, I go, okay, you have Apache, Hadoop, Microsoft Azure SQL, Microsoft SQL Server, MongoDB. It looks like you're climbing up. We do hardware, then we do, up the stack storage and network and monitoring all of the network switches, all that. Then, you have the hypervisor, the operating system VMs on top of that. Tanzu, you monitor that. You monitor containers. That's all, if you look at the solutions there, that's in advance. Then you come into enterprise, and now you've climbed up into the database layer on top of that. So it looks like you're just climbing up the stack and adding monitoring up the stack until eventually, what is it? LAMP, Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. So you haven't reached the programming language yet, like PHP or Java or Python, but you are right below that, climbing up that layer. And then I think that people could actually then build monitoring plugins for their application directly if they wanted to. But it looks like you're climbing up with these management packs up the stack, right?
Yeah, and that was really our goal, is to extend out both ways. To be able to go up and down the stack with that base layer of vRealize Operations and go both ways.
Yeah, I guess I'll dig in a little bit. I get it on-prem. This all completely makes sense. We should, this, to your point of, if you release this stuff, everybody would start using it. If you're running vSphere, you're running our stack on-prem, it completely makes sense to just turn all this on, and you now have more features with our current stack to manage everything up, and it makes your life easier and better. When you start talking multi-cloud and the hyperscalers and doing this across clouds, like it gets more complicated. It's certainly what we're pitching, right? Multi-cloud services. This is a service that allow you to run your multi-cloud. And I don't think that, we're quite there yet. I mean, customers are dabbling in this now. What are your thoughts around how real this will become in the multi-cloud world? And you can take off your marketing hat for a second and give us your honest opinion, right? Because nobody listens to this podcast anyway, so you don't really have to get too much.
Peter, you go ahead. I'll go next.
Man, it's hard to take off my marketing hat. It fits so well and snugly.
It's not good, warm and comfy, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I think it's attainable. I think it's where we see this going. Visibility is important on-prem. It's important in the multi-cloud. If one of the big use cases with the True Visibility Suite and all of our integrations is troubleshooting and being able to find that single source of truth. And I think that is where the integrations will play a big part in supporting that multi-cloud view. Brock.
Yeah. So I think that we talk about multi-cloud, and we have for a year or so, or maybe a little bit longer than that, right? And for me, multi-cloud means private cloud and public cloud and VMC cloud and VMC on AWS, VMC on Dell. It means, the public hyperscalers. It kind of means all of it, right?
Right.
And as you know, nobody just flips the switch on the private cloud, turns it off, and then goes all public cloud, right? There's always an overlap. And what I see in the field is that the vast majority are running a little bit on-prem. They're running a little bit in the cloud, and they might be exploring VMware Cloud. So when you have that sort of construct or that framework of a multi-cloud, vRealize Operations fits nicely right below that as kind of a monitoring plane. So be it on-prem with a cloud proxy, no problem. Be it hyperscaler, and we can hit Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, all of those, or the VMC cloud. So we do also have integrations, of course, with AVS, GCPE, VMC, et cetera. So it's not quite as homogeneous as we might want it to be, or as we might talk about it being. It's far more complex in that the vast majority of customers will have a presence in their private cloud or their data center, in the public cloud or somebody else's data center, and then in the VMware cloud as well.
Yeah, that is my take. I have kind of I was at VMUG like 3 or 4 years ago when containers were super hot, right? And so I was at a VP, and I use this quote every once in a while. And I ask, how many? I think this was in Toronto, the Toronto VMUG, and I asked how many of you guys, for 200 people in the room, how many of you guys are using containers, right? And 2 people raised their hand, right? Like, how many people heard of containers? Well, everybody, like 80, 180 people raised their hand, right? So everybody had heard of it, and everybody knew they want to get there, right, over time, and they wanted to make sure they had an architecture to get there. And so it was comforting to know that VMware had a container strategy, that VMware was going to have a Kubernetes strategy, that we were in this space, and that we were bringing your investment along. And I kind of look at the multi-cloud in that way from my perspective. Is like, I don't know how many people are doing management across multi-clouds yet, right? Like, but they're certainly thinking about it, right? How many people are doing it? Nobody, right? Like 200 people in the room in a VMUG. So how many of you guys have, running Oracle and Alibaba and AWS? And everybody looks and just goes, no, nobody.
Yeah, for me, multi-cloud is almost always a private cloud, i.e. on-prem, your data center, and then a hyperscaler, whether that's one of the big three,
one hyperscaler.
or VMC. I do have some customers that will run 2 or more hyperscalers, but generally, they're dipping their toes into one, seeing what it costs, seeing what they like, seeing how workloads perform, what management looks like. So, I think multi-cloud can mean different things to different people.
Yeah, definitely. And I think too, just looking at future state, there's so many people that are, I think, creating that multi-cloud strategy right now, and mapping out where they want to go. And so with vRealize Operations and the ability to, know that it supports that multi-cloud journey that you're going on is, I think, really important.
Yeah, Paul Moritz taught me this back. Paul Moritz was our CEO before Pat Gelsinger, sometime maybe around 2008. I think he took over from Diane Green, and he was a great guy. He was I think SVP for Microsoft, ran VMware for a couple of years, and he said there, when you're talking about software, there is what you can do today, and then there's thought leadership. And he says thought leadership is way more important in the strategic direction than what you can do today. You have to have products to sell today, but if you don't have a vision and a thought leadership roadmap, right, that everybody buys into, you're basically not going to be able to sell software in one more year, right? Because everything re-ups itself every 4 years, right? The product life cycle, you're buying new servers, you're buying everything. So for me, the multi-cloud is that thought leadership where we're going to be in 5 years. And therefore you get really comfortable that I can, go invest in current solution, knowing that this will transition to where we're all going to go. So I like that idea. I just gotta go back to your blog article a little bit. Apache Tomcat, Microsoft Server, Red Hat JBoss, SAP HANA. There's a lot of good management plugins. How many are you guys continuing to move up the stack? I know you can't talk about futures, but how do you feel about us continuing to grow that list of things that we're monitoring?
Yeah, I think if you keep an eye on,
I'm going to keep getting you in trouble. That's my job. Right? How much I can drag out of the product guys.
Yeah. No, we have something very exciting coming, and I think if you keep your eye on the CMBU VMware blog, you'll see here very shortly we're announcing a beta program. I'll just throw it out there for a management pack builder. So this is huge. Yep, this is really exciting,
first, guys.
Yeah,
I need a little bell that I need. You heard it first, like yeah.
So
nice.
I've heard one of our technical marketing managers that I have a lot of respect for says this could be like the hugest thing for VROPS ever.
Right.
And it's really big because it expands beyond the 56 management packs that we had with TVS, and brings that number to really anything with the REST API. You'll start to be able to build your own management packs with you don't know code, it's not a problem. There's no code involved in building these management packs. I encourage anybody out there that's interested, keep an eye on the blog. It'll be very, very soon that we post about how you can get signed up for that beta program with the management pack builder.
That's awesome. I have one patent to my name, and it's for a builder, right? Like a builder flow for when I worked at Sun Microsystems. I got a patent for builder stuff, right? So builders are great, right? Because they do allow you to play, and they're just fun. They're just fun to have, right? Like you can go build all kind of wacky things. I know you guys will build it. You'll make it for something very, business oriented. But then when you do a builder, the community guys like me will get a hold of it and then build it to cook my bacon in the morning or whatever it is, right? We're always looking for monitoring my toaster, right? Like
we'll monitor the temperature of your bacon.
Right. Exactly. Right. So that's kind of neat. So that gets to my point of, what'll be successful here is when you can get the community and other people to help you, continue to expand the number of things that you're collecting, right? And when you climb up into that application stack, you almost need that, right? You almost need a builder to be able to do that.
Yeah. And I think we understand the importance of having that wide visibility, but the sheer volume of technologies out there it's just impossible to keep up with. If we were to say we're going to come out with our next 5 management packs, and there's hundreds, if not thousands, of other technologies that people are looking to bring into vRealize operations. We get requests all the time for specific technologies. And so this will be a solution that opens that up to customers to build on their own. And then, plans for a community where we can do fun things with it as well, like monitor your toaster.
There you go. Right. Yeah. Nice to have it. As we come up to the top of the hour, I always ask people, they come on the podcast, like, some people ask, like, what's your favorite book? What's your reading list? Whatever. Like, I always ask, what's your favorite? I'll do it with Peter because I think I did with Brock already. But Peter, what's your geeky thing that you're looking forward to this year? Like, do you ever geek out? I know you built your office. That's kind of a cool thing to do. But what are you looking forward to? If you had unlimited amount of time and a partner that wasn't bothering you you could spend all unlimited time you want on an unlimited budget, what would you go hack around with or play with?
Oh my gosh, that is a really difficult question. Oh man,
it's kind of a geeky problem too, because maybe you're just like, nah, I wouldn't do anything. I go watch movies and hang out and ride roller coasters or something.
Go hang out with Brock.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk about how bad the Packers are going to be. No,
yeah. So Eric, we do live about 10 miles apart, so we're pretty close. But Peter, don't you have a patio project going at your house or something?
I did. So post office building, worked on building a porch. So I do love getting my hands dirty and building things. The other thing that I kind of geek out on is, and Brock shares this passion with me, and I think you guys do as well. Brock and I both have Traegers. So we love to smoke meats and vegetables, and so that's really what I get into. I haven't had time to like even think about planning out. It's 45 degrees here in Minnesota, and so it's like getting into that prime season, and that's really what I'm looking forward to, I think.
That's cool. Are you planning to come to VMworld? Are you guys thinking about doing any kind of sessions at VMworld this year?
Absolutely. Had a couple of sessions this last year, and totally looking forward to. I'm somewhat of an introvert, and so for a long time I would go to all these conferences, and I think, it's kind of draining being up. But I miss it. I really do. And I'm excited to come out this year and be able to interact with everybody again.
I think you should get one of those bright orange vests and a yellow hard helmet, and we'll call you Peter the Builder, right? And you can come, and maybe there will be a builder beta or something that you can that we can do something with. That'd be kind of fun, right? Like that'd be a good hackathon topic, right? Like
love it. I love it.
Right.
Yeah, that's the management pack builder. We could talk about, what are you building there? What are you building at your house? And
there you go.
Everything in between.
Brock, I'll hit you with the same thing just because people might listen again. What makes you excited for 2022? And you got anything that you're going to try to accomplish geeky wise?
Yeah, so I think we spoke, I don't know, a year ago or so, and we were talking about getting back out there, right? And now I think we finally have gotten back out there. I've been on, I don't know, 2 or 3 trips. I've been back on planes, and it's fun to see customers' eyes again. We're also looking forward to going to VMworld, right? Be it VMworld or small local VMugs, that's really where you find out what customers are doing. That's where you have interesting kind of in-depth conversations, much more so than you would on a Zoom or a webinar or something. So, I'm really looking forward to that. In terms of projects, I barely can hold a hammer, so I am not at all handsy. I definitely will be smoking meats and fishes, although I do that all winter, Peter, even when it's snowing and 10 degrees.
I do probably one a week, but summertime we're talking 5-6 days a week out there. Anything. I'll granola. If I got pecans in the house, I'm gonna go out and smoke them just because it's nice out and I want to be outside.
Yeah, I hear you. Eric, you were kind of mentioning Peter's accent and the folks in Madison. I recently finished a book called The Nordic Theory of Everything. It's really good. The accents up here are very much, in that kind of Norwegian, Scandinavian theme. So there's a book recommendation for you.
It's a funny thing until I really understood that accent and gone to Denmark, and I didn't understand how to actually say Eric, like my own name, right? It's really like Eric, right? Like you gotta have to say my name properly. You have to have like a Nordic kind of accent going in order to actually. Yeah.
Are you Danish, Eric?
I am Danish. Yeah. Eric Nielsen is about as Danish as you can get. Nielsen is the common. Oops. Let's see if I got that. I can turn that.
Wakefield.
Oh no. All right, good. It didn't do that. All right, my smart desk went crazy on me. Yeah, I didn't understand how to say Eric. Now I understand how to say Eric. It's great that I finally figured out how to do that. The accent plays into that. What was your question?
I was just asking if you were Danish.
Oh yeah, I got the story. So Nielsen is the most common Danish last name, right? And I was like, oh, I have kids. I should go hunt up cool first names for my kids that are kind of Danish, right? Because that'd be fun to have a full. And Eric is kind of Danish, so I got Eric Nielsen going, so it's fine. So I went and looked, and Mikkel, Mikkel, and then I called my kid Mike, right? Like it's like, oh, yeah, I named him, and I was kind of proud of this for like the first 10 years. I was like, oh yeah, and I didn't really have many Danish friends, but finally, Mike grows up, becomes a hardware engineer at Roku, and goes over to Denmark. They got a site there, and he's doing hardware engineering over there. And he's a 20-year-old, he's young, out of college, and he gets over there, and they're like, "Oh, Mikkel Nielsen, wow, that's quite a name, right?" And I was like, and Mike comes back, goes, "Thanks, Dad." I'm like, I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, well, they're kind of making fun of my name." I'm like, "Why are they making fun of your name?" And he says, "Well, Nielsen is the most common last name, and Mikkel is like, the most common first name. So you named your kid like Joe Smith. That's what you've managed to do, right?" So, yeah, got some Nordic heritage going, right? And yeah, there you go. Gregos, my other kid's name. So all good. All right, we're killing time here, so we'll get to the V barbecue report. Tony Foster, I know you're on. We'll talk. We'll ring us out with a little bit of a barbecue conversation on our end. Clearly, Peter and Brock are the Traeger fans, and I got to say, my Wisconsin father-in-law now, Green Bay, he goes out all winter long and sits out on his patio, shovels a little way to it, and he barbecues like twice a week out in. Doesn't matter, -3, whatever. He just does it. Now he uses gas, right? So it's kind of like cheating a little bit, but he's out there all winter long. Tony Foster, I know you're out there. Anything new on the barbecue front?
No, actually, it's been really weird. The weather's been nice, and I haven't had a chance to grill.
Well, I know that you did your run around the house, famous run around your house, and barefoot in the snow. So you guys got the same issue we have. Peter, I'll flip it back to you then. You Traeger, what's your favorite thing to put on the grill?
Favorite thing would probably be a good brisket. The thing I end up making most, though, is there's a really great meatball recipe, and the kids they just go crazy for them. They love meatballs, so I'd probably end up making those once a week.
Now, how do you grill a meatball?
Oh, you start it nice and slow at.
You put them in like a tin pan or something, like
no, you set them right on there,
right on the grill.
Yep, yeah. So the Traeger just smoked meatball recipe, and you've got some egg, you've got some breadcrumbs, hold them together nicely, and you just start at about 180, 200 degrees, and they just sit on there nice, get a nice red color to them, and turn them up at the end to about 350 for a little bit.
So are you rotating them, or you just baking?
Oh no,
with the heat. You just set them there and let them smoke.
Yep, yeah. The Traeger, it's got the fan built in, so it's kind of convection oven-ish, and so you don't need to do anything for them. My neighbor would tell me I cheat with the Traeger. He's a green egg guy, but
Yeah, Corey likes it as well. So that sounds like a good one. Brock, I don't know if you have anything new that you want to add to the barbecue floor.
Probably not. I mean, my top two are just whole chickens, super easy, right? Just load them up with rub, put them on for 4 hours, and they come out perfect. I also this winter I did a couple bone-in prime rib roasts, which were just amazing. I mean, as good as it gets. Briskets are great, of course. They just take a long time and they're a little finicky. Like my first 2 or 3 were not great.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, that makes me hungry, so I am going to get out there. But we will be here again next week. We'll be talking to Rudy Martison. He is a PSO consultant with VMware Professional Services, and he's going to be talking about installing Contour on Tanzu Community Edition cluster. So learn a little more about Community Edition and how to install Contour on it. So talk a little bit about Kubernetes and Tanzu and the Community Edition. So we'll be here again next week, 12 to 1. If you want to come live, say hello to the community. We're always live streaming on TalkShoe.com. You can go Google it. You can go get on TalkShoe, or you can join us on vBarbecue, youtube.com/vBarbecue. We live stream there. You can comment and I'll see them and ask us any questions you have. Until then, Peter, any final where do people follow you? The management blog? Are you on Twitter? Any other things you want to share with the community before we take off?
I am on the Twitters. It's just Peter Higginson on Twitter, and I like to either retweet, all the brilliant things that Brock's saying, or hopeful for the Vikings. But yeah, I just thanks for having us on, and always love talking about TBS and VROPS, and yeah, thanks.
I would just definitely say go download, and they have an HOL. So you got an HOL out on Hands-On Lab. You can go play with it, learn a lot about it with HOL with no investment. So go check that out. vRealize True Visibility Suite. Peter Hagedson, Hagenson. So there's double A there. So go give him a follow on Twitter and bother him. Definitely direct tweet him, and he loves that because he's not an introvert. He's just a quiet introvert. Brock Peterson, I assume you're on Twitter as well. And
yep, I am BP at VMware, and I also maintain a blog, brockpeterson.com. So primarily talk about VROPS, TBS, VRLI, VRA, all sorts of good stuff. And when Peter tweets about the Vikings, I just sort of chuckle.
When you say BP at VMware,
yeah, like at BP at VMware.
Oh, at okay.
Yeah, my bad.
BP at VMWARE. Go give him a follower and say hello to Brock as well. We look forward to seeing what you guys are going to do at VMworld. I know that the content calendar is going to come out in the next couple of months, so everybody do that. Go play with True Visibility Suite and go get yourself some lunch and barbecue. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.